are live with Ian. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your viewers.
You head up Simola Hillclimb. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes. Yeah. I'm one of the founders, and I'm kind of lead the team that puts it all together.
How did all of this, before we get to where the situation where it is now, how did it all get started? It's such an epic event.
Yeah, so it actually all started almost like COVID but it was a financial crisis in 2007, 2008. And, Knysna as a town is built on tourism and a lot of construction at that point in time. It was a construction boom. And then with the financial crisis, obviously those two elements came crashing down. And there's a chap I knew in town here who was building up Simola Road, and he knew that I'd been involved with motorsport and events previously. And he came to me and said, look, what can we do about motorsport? What do you think about a hill climb up this road? And said, yeah, that sounds like a feasible idea. And we just took it from there. At the time, I'd been thinking of doing. Knysna Rocks used to run a little go-kart race around town, and I thought that would be pretty cool around Knysna. Anyway, so we said, let's do the hill climb. And then very quickly we thought, well, why don't we do a speed festival of a week-long different events? So we ended up doing go-karts on Knysna Island as well. And we did 4x4s and we did soapbox derbies. But we kind of just bit off a little bit more than we could chew, both from a personnel point of view and also financially too soon. And it just put a lot of strain on everybody. So after 2 years of doing that, we said, look, let's just focus on the hill climb and build that into what our vision was for it. So yeah, it kind of started just because of the need to bring people to town. We said, how do we boost tourism to town in a quiet period? And we thought, well, let's start the hill climb.
And that's grown. The Simola Hill Climb is now hitting international standards. You guys are getting drivers in from all over the world. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we after the first year we said, let's just see how it goes and if it works and if we can get people involved. And we were quite amazed by the number of entries we had. And luckily, I managed to get Sarah van der Merwe, who I know pretty well, to come and compete. And he won it, which was PR we couldn't buy. So that kind of put us on the map from day one. And then we said, okay, let's try and make this a renowned event. Obviously, we used Goodwood Festival of Speed as a kind of target or a goal to say, let's try and beat the South African Goodwood Festival of Speed. And that was our target, was to make it, try and make it South Africa's kind of premier motorsport, one-off motorsport event. And then kind of when we got to being recognized that, we said, well, let's try and make it, one of the recognized hill climbs around the world. So our current goal is to make it like one of the top 3 hill climbs in the world. And as you say, with the growing in popularity, we've started attracting overseas competitors, which we've had. And for next year, I think now with COVID, it'll probably be delayed by a year, but we had an inquiry from the European champion, 6-time European champion, German champion, to come for next year. He's got a fantastic car, a Merc, very high performance Merc with a Judd engine. So some of the serious heavy hitters are now starting to want to come as well. So that's kind of the next step in our phase and our growth, is to get our top competitors from overseas to come over. And we also got invited to take our winners over to the FIA Masters, which was supposed to take place in September now as well, which won't happen this year. And Franco and Andre Besaidnout hopefully would go and compete in that. So yeah, we really are getting onto the map. And the nice thing about being invited to the FIA Masters is that we're the only standalone event that our winners are invited at. Generally, it's for the European champions who get invited. They have to win the championship to be invited. It's quite a feather in our cap that our winners can go there. And We also the first country outside of Europe that's got an invite. So yeah, so we're making some inroads in terms of what we want to achieve with the event, and we are getting that global footprint, which is great, because again, that's good for our motorsport in South Africa. It's good for South Africa. It's good for Knysna as a town. Getting people to come out. And even from a spectator point of view, we've got that international interest. When we looked at our ticket bookings, our online ticket bookings for last year's event, we had people booked from Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Germany, America. It was quite amazing looking at the spread of people, the countries they were based in, that had booked to just come as spectators.
But the biggest thing, I mean, the track isn't that long. I think it's what, 1.8 to 1.9 kilometers, am I right? Compared to like the Pikes Peak.
Yeah, it's 1.9 Ks, which is obviously, look, there are two types of hill climb really. You find the British or UK hill climbs are generally quite short, possibly because they don't have a lot of big hills in the UK. But, they often vary between 1 mile and 2 miles. The European hill climbs are a bit longer. They go between, I think they have to be a minimum of 8 Ks long, and they're usually about a maximum of 15 Ks long. And in America, you get like the Pikes Peak, which I think Pikes Peak's 19 miles, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, hill climbs, being the oldest form of motorsport, they're a variation of just whatever hill was available, really, at the end of the day. So ours is short. It's short and sharp and very fast, but we like it as a short hill just because it's easier to control people. You'll probably be aware of what happened in series with the hill climb there, and what killed it was, 8 Ks long, controlling people.
Yeah, it's too much.
On an 8K course, you have to actually control 16 Ks because both sides of the road. And when guys have a few toots, a drink or two, they kind of see their mate on the other side of the road and they want to run across to them, and it just becomes a nightmare to manage. So we've been very happy to have a shorter course. Everybody's behind fences. It's all controlled. So safety is a priority, and we've managed to, as I say, over time fence the whole course, and it works very well from a safety point of view. So we're very happy with 2Ks. We feel it's manageable. Idealistically, a long track would be nice, but practically it's more of a challenge.
A close friend of ours, we actually had him on the show last week, RJ. They run a car called Big Red, which is the world's fastest Camaro. But he's run Bonneville, Pikes Peak, all these type of events. We've been actually talking to see if we can't bring him here next year to bring. I
saw that. Yeah, I know you mentioned it, and I have seen that. So it would be awesome. And I know his one concern was it's so short, But yeah. When you speak to him again, tell him he gets 12 runs instead of only one. Or Pikes Peak, the downside of a long course is, the first time they run it in its entirety is the final run they have. Yeah. They practice a third and then a third, and I don't think they even get the last third practicing. So that's the one nice thing. We offer our competitors value for money as well, in that they come from a long way, they spend a lot of money. So at least they get a fair amount of runs on the hill and can get some practice. Okay, the runs are very short, but
it still makes
they get a good few runs and they can tweak their cars and so on. Yeah.
At least you get a lot of track time. Put it that way. It's like you said, it's not one event. You're standing around the whole day and all you're doing is running once.
Exactly.
What is the challenges when it comes to setting up an event like that you guys have had?
Sure. Look, the biggest challenge is the logistics that go into this event, and especially being in Knysna. We have to bring in almost everything from out of town and the cities. This event would be a lot easier to run if we were close to a city. But we have suppliers from Joburg, Cape Town, Durban, bring in grandstands, marquees, sound equipment, everything. So, we have to accommodate them. Pushes a cost. We pay whatever we pay in higher costs. We generally pay the same again in transport to get the stuff here, plus accommodation. So it pushes our cost base very high. And as the event's grown, there's just been more and more elements that come into it. So we've obviously built experience. We've got very good suppliers that we use most of the time, the same suppliers. Everyone knows what they have to do. But it's the logistics of bringing it all together for a short period of time, and getting everything delivered on time. Obviously, using the public road too. We have residents that have to get to their houses and so on, so we can't just close it all off for 2 weeks and so. So we work cleverly. We have delivery schedules where the various suppliers have to come in at certain times, just to make it possible logistically. We can't have everyone arrive at the same time. So yeah, I mean, those are kind of the challenges. And then you have a bit of weather thrown every now and again that creates a mud bath. And our other big challenge is we don't have a lot of flat space. Really, the only flat space we've got is a short patch of tar where we have our pits. The rest is all hills and so on. So that's created a challenge, and it's limited what we can do with a lot of what we'd like to do, and what we can do is limited by the space we have available. So and we're using other people's land as well. So we have to have the buy-in of not only Simola Estate, but the residents in the area. It's their farms, their roads, all that type of thing. And yeah, as I say, we're getting the amount of people we do in that. Over the weekend we have about 600 people working on site. So it's become managing all those elements as well. But as I said, we built a good team and really good volunteers that help us every year. We could never do it without them, and it's been fantastic to build the team up and work with everybody. And everybody loves the event. That's the one must. Then, few suppliers, so many of their favorite event of the year. So everybody chips in and pulls finger, and it's great. We work as a big team. Our overriding philosophy is that everybody must have fun, and that includes not only the competitors and spectators, but also sponsors and also the organizers, and our suppliers. So if anyone gives us too much trouble or too much grief, we tell them we don't want them back next year.
Exactly.
Especially competitors. So we always tell the competitors, if you're going to protest, then you're not coming back next year. Just bear that in mind. Because at the end of the day in motorsport, I always believe when you go home on Sunday night, you want to know the winners. You don't want to have protests and all that type of thing. And that's also why we've had approaches over time to create a championship. But when you have championships, then the politics start. And we've tried to, as I say, our golden rule's been have fun. We try to make the rules that it's open to allow huge variety of cars and people to come and be part of it. Hopefully at the end of the day, everyone leaves saying, hell, we had a great time. And so that includes us organizers. And we generally, because of that, people love the event and the suppliers love it, and everybody that chips in and does their bit willingly and happily.
Now, so this year has not completely been cancelled. And what's the dates now for next year?
So next year is the 6th to the 9th of May. It's the second weekend. We always try and run the first full weekend in May. So next year, the 1st of May, I think, is on the Sunday or the Saturday. So it's not the first full weekend of May. And because our event starts on Thursday, we like the whole thing to be in the first week of May. So we start 6th to the 9th of May next year.
Excellent. And anything special that you guys have planned going forward?
Well, look, we had some ideas, but with the reality of COVID, we have to just see where we are. Obviously, we had some sponsors that have withdrawn. We've got other sponsors we're speaking to. They don't know where they'll be financially by next year. I think there's a lot of pain to come in the next couple of months for businesses and competitors and everybody, really.
Yeah.
So we just have to take stock as we go along, and we're going to have to see what kind of a budget we've got, what we can do. We might have to downscale it a little bit from what we've done before. We don't want to. We've always aimed for constant improvement. That's kind of why we've got where we have got to. But, the reality is, at the end of the day, what we're going to be faced with come January, February next year, we'll probably have a decent idea of where we are with financially and what we can do, what the authorities will allow us to do, what they won't allow us to do. So it's all a bit up in the air, which makes it challenging. Uncertainty is is a difficult thing in business and in events and in everything. So that certainly helps you to plan properly. So we don't really know at this point, but so some of the special things we had planned might fall by the wayside, or maybe not. We don't know at this point in time.
But I mean, as the event grows, I mean, you guys must be hitting more challenges. Like the guys are coming in with bigger rigs the whole time. Where do you physically, where do you put everyone? Where does all the trucks are going? You've got that. You've got spectator parking. I mean, last year, I know you 4x4 up that one cliff to try and go park at the top, at the top there. I went and I luckily we didn't have the kids with us with the pram. Otherwise, it was a thing to get. But I mean, that must be some of the biggest challenges. Is if you want to grow the event, you're going to have to probably get to a point where you cap the amount of people that can get to the event.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, that is one of the challenges. So as you mentioned, rigs, we have a limited amount of rigs we can get right down the pits. The rest of the guys have to park down the road. So we work on a system of, when entries are confirmed, the sooner the better. The competitors the first guys in will get a slot. Again, it comes back to that problem we have of not enough flat ground around, As far as spectators, for sure, going up that hill, we've put those concrete strips there over time because with the mud and rain, it's like two-wheel drive cars couldn't get up there. So we've had to do a lot of infrastructure work, and every year we do infrastructure work just to allow for ease of access, whether it's people walking, driving, all those elements. But you did right, we're going to have to cap the number of people on that we can get in each year or each day. We've had 7,500. We probably reckon maximum 10,000 people a day. That would be maybe a bit of a squeeze, but we monitor it every year and see how many cars. We've introduced a shuttle system. More and more people using shuttles from the center of town, yes. So that obviously eases up the traffic and the parking. But again, the challenge for us is that in time, some of that land could be developed for housing. So then more people would have to catch shuttles. So we have these constantly moving targets or challenges, that a normal racetrack wouldn't have. That we have to keep an eye on. But yeah, we do what we can do, and we take them as they come, and we talk to the guys in advance to try and work out what is happening, what isn't happening, just so we can be on top of it, even if it's a couple of years in advance. We don't always just think year to year. We often think in 2 years in advance, and sometimes even a bit more in terms of what we want to do and so on. So yeah, but I think it would be in a lot of ways nice to get to a point where we say, okay, we sold out like Goodwood is. Goodwood in the UK, 4 days they sold out in like a month from
exactly
sales. It's a great position as an event organizer to be in to get to that point. So we've definitely got a way to go yet. So maybe one day we'll be in a similar situation.
Well, I mean, just so guys know, I mean, it's Simola Hillclimb, and then you guys have the Knysna Motor Show the next weekend. Am I correct?
No, the Knysna Motor Show is a weekend before.
But it's the weekend before. Sorry.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. But so we're not directly involved with that. It's run by the Garden Route Motor Club, and we work closely with them. I mean, we set dates together and that type of thing. But it's independently run by the Garden Route Motor Club, and that the proceeds go to charity. But it works well to be linked to us because a lot of our competitors bring their cars and put it on show there, and then they stay on for the week. And again, it works. It works in the whole idea of bringing people to Knysna to stay for a few days.
Well, it brings the crop from a motoring perspective, because I mean, Knysna Motor Show is invite only. So cars are invite only. So you've got some of the top car collectors in the country who are coming through, and then they just make a week of it and stay for the Simola Hillclimb at the same time.
Correct.
I know from the first time that I went through to Simola Hillclimb, I was amazed with who was walking around there. I mean, if you're a fan of South African racing, it is the best event if you want to see everyone. You know, caliber of races that you guys have there is just insane.
Yeah, so it's been it's been great in that we get supercars, you know, and now we're getting some specially built cars like Trenkos and so on. So, I think the variety of cars is amazing. The variety of drivers is amazing. And then, as you say, whoever's in the pit lane, you know, even if guys aren't competing, there are a lot of the old heroes of motorsport that are attending. So it's great from that point of view. You know, some of the things we're thinking about, whether we're directly involved or not, is between the motor show and our event is to have like classic car drives into the area. You know, guys can go to the R62 and come back, so they can leave on Monday and come back on Wednesday or Thursday. You know, doing other activities in between, or doing loops every day, or some of those kind of things. You know, one of the other things we're looking at, we were hoping, we've done some trial runs. We've engaged with Motorsport South Africa, is to run a motorbike hill climb, and we were hoping to do it in 2021. But now again with COVID, it'll probably push that out for 2022. So we've had a lot of interest from both competitors, motorcycle competitors, and also fans saying, "What about motorbikes? What about motorbikes?" You know, but running them with the cars has challenges from a safety aspect, different requirements. So we started looking probably 3 years ago now, looking at how we can run the hill climb, a hill climb for motorbikes, to a separate event. So the idea is to possibly, you know, do it a week or so afterwards and keep some of the infrastructure there. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, bringing the infrastructure in is such a big task and so expensive that if we can amortize it over 2 events, it obviously makes it a bit easier for us. So that's one of the things we're looking at down the line to do it, and that'll be great because that'll bring a whole different crowd of people. And the motorbike fraternity are so passionate, and they always make a trip of it. You know? So they love having a destination and coming down in big groups and having a jaw. So I think that'll be very, very successful and quite a spectacular event. And so that's on the cards for the future.
Well, the only 2 elements I can think of that would still work nicely there is a dirt oval for the old oval track boys that still want to go in there. And if there's an abandoned airstrip laying somewhere, you know, a top end run is always a nice filler during the week as well, you know, for the guys that want to try that. I know I was talking to the guys in Knysna, because I live just down the road from Knysna, and we're saying a top end run in the area during that week could be just like I said, something just to keep the guys entertained, and it would just be amazed to see what, as much as some of these cars are made up for corners, what they would actually do on a top end run more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past we've engaged with the Plettenberg Bay Airport. That's the closest hard airport. There wasn't huge enthusiasm for letting us run there. There's been a lot of politics. Yeah, and there's been a lot of politics there with the municipality and various people. So there was talk of farming it out to a independent operator. And I think if that happens, it could be a lot easier to get something like that, you know, off the ground. The only other option is George. George Airport, but obviously that's a much bigger commercial airport, so it has a big challenge. But Mossel Bay, the guys are looking at building a drag strip in Mossel Bay. The council there is very supportive, and they've given a piece of land available. So they are looking at building a drag strip and an oval, and I think a drift circuit as well.
I heard about the drift circuit. I didn't know about the drag strip though. I mean, that's going to be interesting.
I think as part of the bigger plan, I went to one meeting in Mossel Bay about it, and those were the ideas put forward. Subsequently, they appointed a committee of people to take it forward, and I haven't really heard back. I've just heard via the grapevine, so I'm not 100% sure what the final plans are on that. But those are kind of eventually there was also talk of a full-scale track. You know, I think the piece of land possibly isn't big enough for a full-scale track, but But yeah, it could also be a short circuit like Lichtenberg, if need be. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to try and find out exactly where they are with.
I'll put my feelers
plans.
out in town as well and see what maybe I'll make a call through to the head of tourism and then they can give us.
So Joe, you say you're living in the area. Where are you based?
I'm actually based in Hersham.
Okay.
I recently moved out. We were in Diaz, and then with COVID, things got a little bit difficult. And a friend of ours had a place available in Hersham, so we actually just moved in here about a week ago.
Okay, cool.
I'm halfway between Mossel Bay and George at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. So I mean, that's they planning the piece of land is near Mosgas. It's to the side of the Mosgas plant.
It's
there.
flat out that side.
Yeah, on the industrial area there. Yeah. So.
But industrial area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct. Yeah. I mean, the Mossel Bay municipality is very keen, very enthusiastic. I think they definitely out of the whole Eden district, they probably the most. What's the word I'm looking for? They're the most enthusiastic, the most proactive municipality around in terms of trying to attract business and sport and everything else. So
but
a really great team of people running it.
It makes sense for a small town. If you look at like what the Buff does for Mossel Bay.
Yeah, exactly.
I think people underestimate the amount of money that brings into a town. For a town to become specialized and known for one section. I mean, I've always wanted to. That was always my idea with the rodding, the custom car fraternity. Is find a place and do like your nationals and one spot, and it'd be something that you can build up and you can grow on, instead of something that moves around the whole time. That way you're building infrastructure, you're building a town, you're building, everything is there. Like where you guys are sitting now, everyone knows what has to happen the next year, so you can just add on and add on and add on. So it does make sense. Did you see that? I know there was supposed to be a supercar event coming through to Mossel Bay in the next few years.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's still happening.
No, I think it was cancelled. That was meant to be April. Initially, I know it was about 2 weeks before the hill climb. Yeah.
Okay.
It was originally scheduled for April. They might have pushed it out a bit. It might have been pushed out a bit to September or so. But the initial idea was, I think it was 2 weekends before hill climb, if I'm not mistaken. So it was scheduled mid-April, somewhere around there.
It works. It just makes sure that this area becomes the haven for petrol heads. Next thing we need is one of those racetracks where you've got like a golf estate, but it's for race people. Yeah. We need one of those.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's about 3 years ago, some guy spoke to me about that and saying, did I think it was feasible? And I think that there's going to be more of that in time, especially when the penalty points when that gets implemented, that it's going to be a lot more difficult to drive your car enthusiastically, let's say, on the road. So those kind of tracks, and with the states and more tracks, high performance driving centers are going to be more common for sure. Overseas already Porsche's built a whole lot of experience centers. Other brands are starting to do the same. Track days in the UK and America are just so popular. They're busy 7 days a week almost.
Yeah.
Of guys wanting to take their performance cars out and drive them as they're meant to be driven. So I think over time, definitely in South Africa, that's going to become
they're saying it's going to be worse in the next few years as the admission taxes and stuff starts coming in. We won't be able to drive big blocks on a daily basis. It's all moving over to electric. So it doesn't mean that you're going to get rid of your Ferrari or V12 or whatever it is. You just have to find a different infrastructure where you can arrive. And not everyone can be like the Rupert's. It's got a racetrack sitting on his farm.
Exactly. Yeah. No, for sure. Absolutely. I think you'll get one or two more people doing that, but not everyone can do that for sure. So it's there's definitely going to be scope for more tracks no doubt about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
we've
you
got such
said,
a big country.
exactly. We've got a
I
lot
was
of
just, yeah, I was reading the other day in Aussie, and Aussie that they were saying that they don't have enough racetracks for the population and for the size of the country. And I think they've got 30 racetracks or something, and they don't have enough. And I'm like, geez, yeah, we've got South Africa. We've got a fraction of what
I think we've got
a lot
5.
of other countries have got. Yeah, exactly. We've got hardly any. And so I think, yeah, over time, I'm sure more tracks will go up. Unfortunately, we've gone the other way. We've lost tracks and we've never replaced them.
Exactly.
And it takes 25 years, like in Natal with Desi eventually building a track. Roy Escott closed in 1981. And Desi built his track in where are we? About 2015, I think, roughly.
Around there, yeah.
So it took a long time, and there were a lot of plans in the interim to get tracks going. So it's not easy to get a track going.
And to keep them going, that's the problem. I mean, then you hitting like Killarney. Killarney's biggest issue is noise pollution.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what people need to forget. You need to have a track that's far enough out of town to not to disturb everyone. Well, I never understood with Killarney. I lived there when I lived in Cape Town. I lived in Tableview, and there's nothing better waking up on a Saturday and here by mid-afternoon you start hearing the race cars. I mean, that's music to my ears. And I never understood, why would you buy a house close to a racetrack and then complain about a racetrack? That just never make any sense.
Well, that's human nature, it's just ridiculous because people buy a house near an airport and they moan about the noise. They buy a house near a racetrack, they moan about the noise. It's crazy. And when you think of Killarney, Kyalami, Swartkops, when they were built, they were out of town. And the urban sprawl has come to them. They haven't gone the other way around yet. Now they're all under pressure with
now they have been pushed away. Yeah,
with noise pollution. And I mean it's not unique to South Africa. The UK and other countries are the same. But it is frustrating, obviously, for us guys who like to use those facilities and have to deal with.
How do you guys deal with it? I mean, look, you don't have the quietest cars that go. I mean, but the funniest thing for me last year was with Jaguar, when you guys had the electric Jags that went up. Dion Joubert and everybody was going as well. It was actually entertaining to watch that part. But how do you guys deal with the noise pollution and everything on going up there? Because I mean, you like in between this like hills, so everything's echoing up there,
Yeah, look, I think we've over the time we've had some people moan. When we started the event, we had a few groups saying, "Oh, well, it doesn't fit the green image of Knysna, etc., etc." Look, I think the fortunate thing for us is we once a year, and it's 3 days a year, and it's done. Yeah, and we've engaged with the community about the motorbikes, and they say, okay, well, that's fine, but if we wanted to run an event once a month, I think we would have a problem with them. I think the other thing is that most of the town folk have also realized how much good the event does for Knysna in terms of the economy, and so over time we've got more and more support from the locals. Having said that, we've never had a big pushback, but there's always one or two people that complain.
There's always one,
and that's always going to happen. Yeah, that's always going to happen. So we just deal with it as much as possible, as best possible, and be respectful and understand their side of it. But just to say, well, you have an option of leaving town for the weekend if you don't like it. We're not forcing you to stay here. But yeah, I think it's for us because we're not every weekend. We're not a track that's going every day. It's different.
But Knysna, I found. I mean, like I've spent a lot of time with the guys from Spotless and all this type of stuff on that side. it's just becoming such a hub for classic car people. I was completely gobsmacked when I moved here. The amount of car collections that sits out here and the size of them was just blew my mind completely.
I think, the whole garden route for sure. Knysna has become a hub in terms of restorations and so on. It's quite incredible what's gone on here. And as you say, some of the collections are amazing, but there's huge collections throughout the garden route. There's just some Grootbrak. I haven't been to it, but I believe there's a guy at Grootbrak with a barn of 100 plus cars.
I drive around every day looking for him. I don't know where he is, but when I
keeps
find
a very
him,
low profile.
he will be my best friend.
I know some people that have been there, and I think definitely I'll try and dig for you and find out exactly who it is. But there's that, and there's near the airport in George, there's a little kind of garage that's gone up, and the guy's got his cars in there.
George has got some crazy car people, though.
So George has got it. Knysna's got it. I think there are a couple there. So there are a lot of nice cars in the area. There's no doubt about that. There's a great culture, and some really good work being done on restorations here.
Yeah, I know there's another museum going up that I was working on in Sedgefield. There's another car collection going up there.
Yeah.
And I think there's more guys as people start retiring, or guys start retiring, and there's more collections that are busy, slowly but surely moving through to it. Look, it's not somewhere here. I heard a thing. There's a guy I bumped into him actually at Hillclimb last year. I think there's a guy, Somerset West area, that's busy putting his car collection has been spread all over the country, and he's putting it into one building, and I think it's sitting over 400 cars.
Yeah, I've heard that. I have heard that. So, I mean, that's a huge. I mean, that's as big as the Rupert collection. They've also got 400 cars, and it's just phenomenal. Absolutely amazing.
Exactly.
So, I mean, there's some brand specific cars. I've heard of. In the Free State, there's a farmer that's got apparently almost one of every Ferrari. Over the last 30 years.
Yes.
That have come out.
And
there's that
as well. The Datsun collector.
There's the Datsun collector. There's the Mercedes collector. There's a guy I've seen pics of a Mercedes collector that's got an incredible collection of Mercedeses. So I mean, there's a lot of them. And just going back to the garden route as such. I know when the MG Car Club started the Southern Cape chapter, the MG guy said, "Oh, you're crazy, man. You'll have a few cars in your collection," and in that time I think they got about 40 odd members, and even the Ferrari club affiliate down here, they go on runs, and sometimes I think they've got 15, 20 Ferraris in the area. That go on runs.
I heard
that phenomenal.
Yeah, I heard between Knysna, George, and Knysna, I think there's something like 58 Ferraris that sits in this area.
Amazing, incredible,
And then cars that people think that weren't here. I had a massive argument with someone. Not a massive argument. The SL300, the Galway, and the guy was telling me that they think that there's only 2 or 3 of them in the country, and I knew of 2 more. Like, absolutely impossible. They're part of the Merc Club, and I'm like, no, I know they are. But they deregistered them, and they deregistered so no one bugs them because they have.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
So no one can find them. So I don't want to keep you all day, but this has been an excellent talk. I mean, thank you so much. You guys have.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been great chatting to you. Yeah, it's awesome.
If you guys need any help from my side with the riding fraternity and the muscle car fraternity and stuff for Simola, just give me a call. I'm it's down the road. I'm always willing to get involved. I love it. Is one of my favorite events for the year. It is one I never shut up about. Whenever people start talking about motoring events, I'm like, you got to do Simola. It is just absolutely phenomenal. Great job with it. Great event, and I can't wait for next year. Definitely.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, no, super talking to you, and we'll definitely shout. And if I'm coming down your way, I'll give you a shout, and we can have a coffee and just meet in person. It'll be great.
Exactly. Well, we can't drink beer anymore. That's been cancelled.
Yeah, exactly. I know. She's tragic.
Tragic. Well, luckily, my wife. I was laughing. Someone actually posted a photo as he's pouring his red wine back into his bottle last night.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. I know. I was meant to stock up last week. I felt just because my stock's low, and I never got to it. And it's like, well, here we go. It's gonna be coffee for now.
Yeah. Don't worry. I did a quick run through the house and do a stock take as well. And I call it my wife's car Bordeaux, which is basically box wine. And I went into the pantry and there was a box that still had. I'm like, listen, you can't waste. Okay, you need to preserve it. Can I rip that box open, blow it up, and get the last drop out?
For sure, absolutely, yeah.
And thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Great, Joe. Thank you. Lovely to chat.
Okay,
Thanks
cool. Thanks, Cheers. Bye.